Welcome to the latest printed press. And on Wednesdays, it's our COVID-19 platform special. And today we're going to be focusing on financial and legal advice during this difficult period. And we're going to be giving some advice to our audiences. I'm very pleased to have Councillor Mahmoud Aksanoglu, Councillor for Southbury Ward at Enfield Council and solicitor. Welcome, Mahmoud, to my programme. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Hello. I've also got Enver Kanur, business advisor and coach, a partner at ADPL LLP. Welcome, Enver Bey, to my programme.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And as always, Edim Meto, CEO of Turkish Cypriot Community Association. Welcome, Edim, to the programme.
Thank you.
As always, it's great to see you. Before we go into our latest update with the COVID-19 platform group, Edim, is it okay if we get some background knowledge? First from Mahmoud Bey, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourselves to our audience.
Thank you, Aishan. Well, my background is law, as you mentioned. So I studied my law degree at Kingston University, and went on to study my legal practice course, and then went on to undertake my training contract and have qualified as a solicitor now. I work in a local firm in North London, in the London Borough of Haringey. We specialise in personal injury, litigated matters, employment law, family and immigration as well. Together with Wills. I was lucky enough to get elected as a councillor as well in 2018. I've been active within the Labour Party for a number of years, and I am here tonight, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your knowledge and advice really to our audiences. It's great to see you. Thank you. Enver Bey, could you give us a little bit background? Like I said, you're both gentlemen are very well known in the community anyway, but it just would be useful for our audiences just to have a summary of that. Enver Bey.
Thank you, Aishan. It's good to be here. I'm a chartered certified accountant. I won't tell you how long I've been practicing. I won't go back to my schooling days. Sorry, Mahmoud. I'm a partner in a firm based in London Borough of Enfield, ADPL LLP. We also have offices in Istanbul, Cyprus, and also St. Paul's, Central London. As I said, I've been an accountant for about 30 years now, and our practice mainly deals with SMEs. So the last month and so, we've been really busy advising our clients with which we are going to talk about, all this help that the government is providing, which is quite a lot. And if you know where to tap into, I don't think anybody can really ignore this, because it will keep them to be afloat. It will keep them to stay alive and kicking until they think good days come.
I know, until this crisis is over. Thank you. That's why it's very useful to have this program tonight. So those people who are a little bit confused as to what help they can actually get, obviously, having both your expertise here is phenomenal. So thank you very much for agreeing to come on. First of all, before we go into sort of the legal and financial sort of advice that we're going to be giving our audiences, Edim, could you just give us an update on what the charities and services are offering out there at the moment, and emphasis on the COVID-19 initiatives? How can people find out where they are?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot going on. There is a lot of coming together now as well. So a lot of organisations have been doing stuff on their own, good stuff. Individual to their own organisations' needs and specific to their clients that they serve.
Yeah.
Now is that there's a coming together.
Oh, is that Edim glitching there? Can't hear him properly. Right, okay. We'll go on to our next question then until Edim comes back. Sometimes we have these technicalities, what with everyone using the internet. He might be coming back. But Mahmoud, let's go on to our first question, we're finding out that many people who are renting are finding it hard to pay their rent currently, and some are threatened with eviction. What is out there to protect those who are renting, and what help is there for them to pay their rent?
Okay, thank you for that's a great question. Thank you, Ashen. So first of all people renting out property that are having difficulty renting and paying the rent, firstly should contact their landlord or their letting agent to let them know, and try to agree some kind of arrangement plan with them moving forward. This could be a sort of payment plan or a deferral for a couple of months. And anything like that can be agreed with the landlord. That needs to be agreed by the landlord first with the tenant. If those landlords are threatening them, the tenant with the eviction, I'd like to reassure that the tenants, that landlords can't make the tenant leave in the current climate.
Okay.
The government has implemented changes to the law. The change came on the 26th of March this year. The government passed into law the Coronavirus Act, which includes the ban on evictions. In a nutshell, this basically means that from the 26th of March 2020, landlords will have to give all renters 3 months' notice if they intend to seek possession of the premises. This means that the landlords can't apply to start the court process. They need to go through until after this period has ended.
Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, this would be between 2 weeks to 2 months' notice. Now, due to the new law change, it doesn't matter on what type of tenancy as well you're on as well in relation to the notice periods. The extension and change applies until 30th of September 2020. However, there was an open hole in relation to this law change because there was a problem where the tenants, for example, already before the 26th of March had a notice given to them. So people were asking questions in relation to what happens then.
Yeah.
So people who have already been given a notice by their landlords to be evicted, and this is prior to the 26th of March, there's a procedural change which has been implemented on the 27th of March. And the Master of the Walls and one of the senior judges, with the Lord Chancellor's agreement, suspended all ongoing housing possession claims for 90 days. So even if they have given you notice before the 26th of March, before the laws implemented, this will delay the procedure which the landlord has to take forward before evicting you, because they need a court order in their hand before they're able to evict you from the premises. So these two laws are the main changes that have been implemented to support the tenants being unable to be evicted. This, of course, I mean, over 65% of renters in our country is mainly, young people. The youth are renting. They're renting student accommodations, etc. So this obviously affects the young people in general. Between age 16 to 24 are the main group that is affected by this. So best option forward, if you have any issues with paying rent, your first contact should be your landlord. If you can't agree anything moving forward, because in these, I mean, we shouldn't be emphasizing just on the tenant perspective as well, because the landlords should be able to give some leeway as well, because the landlords are able to, for example, if you are a homeowner and you have a mortgage under your name, you are able to agree a 3-month mortgage holiday with your lender. So that will give a bit of leeway to the landlords before they obviously speak to the tenant. So hopefully your landlord is helpful and you can agree some kind of agreement.
Yes.
However, if they do not, the government says, people that are renting have to pay their rent. So there are options available for people. If, for example, they have a housing benefit shortfall, for example, if they are, for example, obtaining benefit from the council, but due to the current circumstances, they still have a shortfall and they're unable to pay the rent still, there is something called discretionary housing payment. This is a payment to help with the housing costs, which includes rent payments, rent in advance, deposits, and it can be paid to anyone receiving housing benefit, like I've reiterated, or universal credit.
So they have to go for housing benefit. Is that how they claim for this, through housing benefit? Is it?
This is so basically the housing benefit is through the new system, which is universal credit. So universal credit basically covers the whole benefit system now. It's a new system which has been implemented. It's relatively new. It's been out there for a while now, and normally the application is done. The whole application process is done online. If you get in touch with your council could help as well. But normally everything is done online to be able to get this. So initially, the first stage is to apply for your benefits. If you are still obtaining benefits and you still have a problem paying, then there's discretionary housing payment, which is a payment to cover the amount that you can't pay. These are provided to, this is obviously just a temporary relief though, because it's not going to be there for long. It's just temporary basis. Councils are able to pay the remaining sum, which is not paid, but it's just on a temporary basis.
When you say on a temporary basis, have they given a certain amount of time, or we don't know that yet? Literally, is it on a week-on-week viewing?
They haven't. It's just a temporary basis. They haven't really given a specific date. I mean, temporary. It's not going to be for long. It's just so that people are not losing their houses. That's the main concern. So other, obviously, supports that are out there. For example, if you're paying, for example, council tax as well, obviously a lot of people pay council tax as well. Renters pay council tax. So there are council tax support schemes out there. You can apply for example, Enfield Council, our council is doing a council tax hardship payment. So if, for example, you are obtaining council tax support and you have severe difficulty paying the council tax, to be eligible, you will obviously have to be registered as a council taxpayer in receipt of council tax support and actively taking steps to address your financial hardship. They will be able to assist you in paying that as well. So this will give a bit of leeway to renters out there to hopefully be able to pay the rent. To pay it back, right.
I'm going to ask the next question to Enverbe now, because you've touched upon for renters, but obviously I touched upon about the dates. I think it's quite relevant for Enverbe to just come in at this moment and talk about initiatives out there to help employees and self-employed people. They might be worried that there's a cut-off date for their applications, because a lot of employees and self-employed people are now applying, aren't they, for some sort of relief during this time, as the government announced. Enverbe, is there any dates we need to be aware of, and what are the best ways to find out about what is available?
There's a lot available. The dates are not important really, because the help is there. Help is there for anyone to apply, and there's no deadline.
All right.
So obviously.
But it's temporary, as Marketplace said.
Yes. But I mean, obviously, for example, one of the help is the furloughing your employees. So if you close shop, you can actually ask the government for 80% of the money to pay your employees. So that came in. So basically, you had to be at work by the end of February. Then they moved that to 17th of March. So if you were employed by 17th of March, then you could actually, your employer could make an application to the HMRC. There's the new portal set up to get the 80% of the of your salary capped at £2,500. And that's what we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of those last few months, last few weeks, and the people have been getting their money since last Friday. That's
Oh,
one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest help. So if you've
mm,
closed, you're not working, and your employees needs to be paid, so you can ask for 80%, and that's up to end of June.
end of June. So at the moment, that's what they're saying, end of June. But you're saying the dates aren't important. So long as there is this crisis, you probably will be getting the help. So long as there is a lockdown, they'll
Well,
be getting
you'll
the
find,
help.
yeah, but you'll find that the employers have applied already, because employees are asking for their wages, asking for salaries. So almost
Yes,
everyone has applied now. The first day, the system crashed when it opened, but since then it's been fine, and its application has been going ahead. But going back to Mahmoud's rent, if I can talk about the commercial rent side,
excellent, brilliant.
the
Listen,
commercial.
oh, oh, okay, sorry, Enfebe.
What I will ask my clients to do, and I provide them with a template, is to send an
Yeah,
email to their landlords to ask
okay,
for extension on also, or to ask for some time, or ask for spread of their rent money. And probably 90% of the landlords have agreed. I think if you ask, people like to know, and that's what's happening. On the flip side, with the landlords, I've
mm,
asked them to apply to their banks to ask for 12 months extension to their, basically freeze their payment, interest only, or freeze everything. And most of the banks, from the pressure from the government, thank God, because they were not behaving initially, they were
no,
appalling initially. They wanted
yeah,
to take the money and keep it. But since then, they've been actually behaving very well, and they've been accepting these proposals and deferring the payments in some cases for 6 months, and then agreeing a payment plan after. So there's
okay.
been there's been a lot of help. But if you want me to go ahead with the other help available,
Yes,
shall I do?
please, because
Okay.
we've lost him again. So until we get him back, yes, that will be helpful. He can summarize everything at the end anyway. It's fine.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Basically, the main thing is, if you are in hospitality sector, so
Yeah.
if you're a restaurant
Mm,
takeaway, depending on your rateable value, you could apply for 10,000 or 25,000, which is a grant. It's not a
okay.
taxable grant. It's basically
Right.
a gift from the government to make sure you keep on going. So that's been quite good. Most of the local authorities have paid it now. Some authorities are still paying it. Some authorities are paying it quicker than others, unfortunately. I mean, LBE was very good at helping. There was a glitch in their system, but they corrected it, and it works very well now.
Mhm.
Uh, so if you owe VAT, you could it's all been deferred. The value added tax, it's all been deferred to until end of June. If you owe income tax, and which was supposed to be paid in February, March, then that could be deferred until end of June as well. And then you are going to have 12 months after.
Okay.
Your PAYE, so your deductions from your employees for months of February, March. Again, you can that wasn't automatic deferment. You had to
Yeah.
make a phone call and ask the HMRC to agree to it. I've done
Oh,
few of those without any problem. So
oh,
HMRC has been responding well. I think this chancellor has done very good. I think he's provided a lot of help, and it's
yeah.
working. The
Okay.
latest one, obviously, there was CBILS, what we call the uh, the corner business uh, initiative loans. They were very difficult to start with, but since
Mm,
Monday, we've got
mm.
BBLs, bounce back loans,
Oh,
which
okay.
means
What's that?
which basically it's a two-page application.
Yes.
All the main street banks, they've been approved by the British banking system to basically accept these applications. It doesn't take long, but obviously it's cumbersome, so you need to know what you're doing. And depending on your turnover for 2019,
Mhm.
you can apply up to
Okay.
25% loan. So if you've got £150,000 turnover, then you can apply up to 37,500, and there's no personal guarantees. There's absolutely nothing basically, and you self-certificate, so you don't have to go and ask your accountant to sign something. You don't ask. It's an amazing uh, for
Opportunity.
to Yes, to give you an example, Lloyds Bank in last 24 hours have given out £1 billion. This is
Okay.
just Lloyds Bank.
Mm.
So there's a big take up on these loans because they are easy to get, and they are also, you get 1 month no interest, no capital repayments.
Yeah.
Interest is going to be paid by the central government. So it's based. They're trying to keep the businesses going. So you've got the rates have a business rates holiday for next year. As you know, there's going to be no business rates payable.
Yes,
There was,
that started now, hasn't it? Yes, I was aware of that.
yeah,
Which is
and
again a great help, because that was one of the big things that was, bringing businesses down. So I think it's been a blessing in that sense. Business rates have always been a big burden, haven't they, for local business?
don't start more business rates.
That's for another time, another whole
Yes.
program. I know.
And today they've announced that this was today, this afternoon. They were
Yeah.
going to do revaluation of the business rate. So they look at it every so often. This was
Yeah.
going to be in 2021. That's been abolished now. So they won't look at increasing the business rates until probably 2022-23 now. So there's a lot of good news.
Good
And
news.
obviously, as you mentioned before, there is going to be some help for the self-employed. Unfortunately, self-employed is the last. It started yesterday, so they're texting or they're sending messages to the self-employed who do qualify for the self-employed help, which is going to be average of last 3 years' earnings.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we as accountants, we've done everything else for our clients, but we cannot do this one because what they're trying to stop is any fraud. So they want the self-employed themselves to apply for this one, go through which is a very cumbersome, very long process of registering with the HMRC. But I'm doing a Zoom, believe it or not, Zoom meeting on Friday for 3 groups, just to take them through the steps, because I did mine a couple of days ago and it took quite a while, and you need to know what you're doing. So overall, I think, I'm looking at my notes. What else is there? We talked about furloughing. We got about the self-employed. We talked about deferral of income tax, deferral of VAT. There's more time to pay. If you can't pay when comes June, there's going to be more time that you can apply for. So overall, I think this chancellor has done a very good job of trying to keep the businesses going and trying to keep the economy going. Hopefully, it does work.
Yes, hopefully. We're going to talk about that anyway. We're going to get your viewpoint about the economy a little bit later on. But Edim, we've got him back. It cut off slightly with the first question. So if we could just quickly cover that. And also, I'm going to ask you our next question, which is about volunteering opportunities. Is there still help wanted out there to volunteer for you? And if you could just give us a summary about what's been happening this week.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, there is volunteering opportunities. There's a vast amount of volunteering opportunities. Today, I had a meeting with Edible London, which is run by an amazing guy called Sunil. He arranges around about 600 volunteers, which help distribute food throughout London. They use Tottenham Football Stadium car park. They use Alexandra Palace as a base. So we're going to be doing work with them. What they're looking for example, is 40 cooks. Going to open up a massive kitchen there. It's going to make food and serve it to a local community that are in need. People pick up and they'll deliver it to various organisations and so forth. We're desperately looking for drivers because we've got food distribution needs to be occurring within our community. We also need 2 cooks who can cook, who can help us at the Cypress House to do the food that's going to go out to the various community groups and stuff. We've got some funding which is coming, which is fortunate from a couple of funders, which is helping us do the various purchases that we need to make this happen. So there are volunteering opportunities. There's always people coming on board. We just need to contact me or contact one of the key members who are involved in resolving issues with the community, and we'll get you on board. So there are volunteering opportunities. We're crying out for volunteering opportunities. There's far more partnerships happening. Skills expertise is being utilized far better than ever before. So if there's an organization which has the skills expertise in producing food, then they're being used for that, and someone else is being able to deliver it. Organizations are providing advice. So it is gloomy out there, but the community is coming together.
It's
I mean,
good. Yeah.
I mean, Enver didn't mention that he's part of the Rotary Club, but they've also offered to donate various bits to us as well. So thank you, Enver.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so people are
Yeah.
coming now.
Definitely. People are pulling together, but we need drivers and we need at least 2 cooks.
Yeah, I mean, the more
Cooks out there.
So-
I'm calling out to the cooks.
so the way the cook works is that we're going to have a base for TCCA. So TCCA will make food for the people that we are serving. However, Edible London is going to be putting out a mass call out for anyone that can cook, because the Alexandra Park facility, which has 2 very large banqueting suites, are allocating the kitchens to service the local community. So they need cooks to be able to produce the food so they can be delivered to the local community.
Fantastic. So, you know, lots of work going on a weekly basis. And what's good about this COVID-19 platform group and what you're doing, Eddie, with all the different voluntary groups and all the different organizations, is everyone's very fluid and sort of adapting to the times. And I think we've found a momentum now, like you've said, where things are working very well and there's lots of good collaborations taking place. And I think that's when things work, is when you start collaborating with people, because not everyone is a specialist in everything. Everyone's got their own specialisms, haven't they, really? So you need to sort of find those pockets, like what you said before with the call outs for taking shopping to vulnerable people. Yes, that worked, but then referring them onto the council means that they get that service on a regular basis, not just now, but beyond this crisis, you know, which is really good. So there's lots of things, lots of comments coming in, by the way. I haven't been ignoring you guys, but it's just because I think our guests today have just been giving us information. So there isn't many questions, but there's lots of positive comments. Zainab saying Ayn Lad, Hassan Bey saying Hassan izliyoruz, which means we are watching. Egg Gunay, another person who's doing great stuff in the community, giving us hearts and thumbs ups. Mehdi Ismet, all the way from Cyprus. Hello, Aishan, Edim, and guests. Have a great show. Always very informative. And he's also put below, well done, everyone. Great stuff. And Ayn Lad, which is good broadcasting, really. So I think, you know, everyone's on side and enjoying all this information that we're giving out. Mahmoud, back to you. How have the services offered by a lawyer changed during the period of enforced lockdown?
Well, there's been a considerable change. We used to get a lot of calls before. Now the call limit is quite low. A lot of people haven't got the funds available for the legal advice. Obviously, if people want legal advice, I'm more than happy to assist them. But people are putting a delay on, you know, divorce matters. People are putting a delay on immigration matters because the Home Office is on standstill. You know, the visa applications are being extended. So that's been the main change. And on the other end, a lot of law firms now need to adapt to working remotely. A lot of our, you know, legal solicitors who have been working for a number of years have not been, you know, are not really good with remote support systems. So obviously they need to adapt to that kind of system. There's firms that have not actually worked from home before. So it's been tough to actually get all the employees together and make sure that they're working on the cases. Court-wise, a lot of court matters and trials are being vacated due to the current climate. A lot of trials are now, the standards basis for trials now are going to be that they are going to be dealt with remotely. So we've had a trial, for example, which was listed originally to be in Bristol, and they actually sent us an order stating that it was actually going to be over the phone. So those kind of changes have considerably affected, obviously, the staff at law firms as well. There's been an influx in employment law matters because of, obviously, the current climate. Employees that don't know their rights after being furloughed. You know, the rights with employees, for example, that doesn't change. You know, they're just on temporary leave while they're on furlough, but they still get paid 80% and a lot of people don't really know their rights. So those kind of things are in the influx, but the other stuff are on the standstill at the moment.
At the moment, we've got another question in. I don't know either Mahmoud Bey or Enver Bey can answer this. How can employers check if their employees have applied for the government scheme on their behalf? Enver Bey?
Well, if they're employees, then they should have received their pay slip.
Okay.
And on the pay slip, it should be clearly visible that there is a application to the furlough scheme.
Okay.
And
If they don't
another
get a
thing
pay
as well.
slip, sorry, go on, Mahmoud.
And before obviously going on to furlough, the employer actually needs your consent. So
correct,
they would have sent you some kind of letter detailing the exact terms and what they expect you to be on furlough until, for example. So, for example, end of June when the scheme ends. So there should be some kind of agreement between your employer and the employee. So she should have had some kind of letter sent to her detailing that.
Well, further than I think what you're saying, Mahmoud, is true also. What we asked our employers or our clients to do is to get employees to sign. Basically, we devised a form and we asked them to send to the employees, each employee had to sign that form, and that form had to be sent to us. So without that form, we were not able to do furlough anybody because employees must give their consent.
Yeah.
Employees must give their consent. If they didn't have consent, then they cannot be furloughed.
Okay.
Because the letter, normally what the standard letter would be explaining the process and explaining that you are going to be on furlough. And then underneath there would be employee name, and then there'll be a signed box next to it. And then the employer would have to sign it underneath as well. So thanks for obviously enlightening us on that as well.
Did you see our form, Mahmoud? You just described the form we sent out.
Sorry?
You just described
a close friend of mine actually uses your services, Enver. So that's why I know.
You can pass it through the screen. You can actually get a piece of paper and actually pass it down, and then he can pick it up.
And I have to say, we were very strict on that. We were very strict that employees, because what's going to happen? I think one thing we haven't talked about is after this crisis, this mess, there is going to be a lot of audit of all the documents we have, and there's going to be audit trail, because the HMRC from the outset said if there's any fraud, they're going to come on everyone like a ton of brick, because it's a theft. It's a theft of money which the country needs currently to support those in need.
Yes, it's a crisis. So in a crisis situation, we all need to be honest, really. But, there's help out there. But obviously, if you take advantage of that, then there'll be, of course, consequences. So people need to be aware of that as well, because people might be tempted through these tough times. It's not that you're a bad or good person, but sometimes when you're going through a tough time, you may get tempted to do something illegal, but you mustn't, because especially over a time like this.
I presume the question from the lady maybe was because she may be working, but she may think that the employer may have furloughed her. That may be why the question was asked. We don't know.
Yeah, but it's not possible, is what you're saying. There has to be a communication, clear communication.
Yeah, if you've been furloughed, you should not be working. That is basically the rule of law, because you've been furloughed. You've been put out there to stay at home and enjoy the four walls, and don't go for a walk and do nothing.
Yeah, like having a trip down the stairs and up. I mean, the next question, Enver Bey, is open to you, but obviously Mahmoud Bey can add in and Edim. But Enver, as an accountant, how badly do you feel the economy has been affected by this quarantine lockdown? And what is our road to recovery? I mean, you've sort of said quite a lot of positive things, but what do you think generally?
Well, yes, a lot of positivity coming out of the government, helping a lot of SMEs, helping the big businesses. But I think we've been hearing a lot of news about the British Airways, sacking 30,000, Ryanair. We heard about the Ryanair and Virgin basically leaving Gatwick. All that is just small news out of a lot of bad news coming out. I was on a webinar with the Bank of England about 10 days ago, And in the webinar, one of the deputy governors explained that yes, we agree. The World Bank has said that the economy is going to shrink by 35% within the next 2 years because of all these problems. Today and yesterday, there's been a lot of news coming out. So for example, today again, UK builders suffered the worst month on record since 1946. Car industry sales plunged to lowest since 1956. The Backbeat Trainer, which is a company that does insolvencies, so basically when you go bankrupt, they come in.
Yeah.
They think there's going to be up to 1 million companies going bankrupt. These are all figures. So unfortunately, the outlook for the future doesn't sound so bright.
No.
Because obviously, the hospitality sector is the biggest loser, because obviously, when are we going to be able to get on a plane? When are we going to be able to go anywhere for holiday?
Yeah.
So I think all the consequences of that, plus I've been talking about all this help from the government, or someone has to pay for it.
Yes.
So what's going to happen is that there's going to be tax hikes. There's going to be taxes that needs to be paid for all this, because we're borrowing. I mean, as I said, Lloyds Bank gave out £1 billion. This money didn't come from Lloyds Bank. This money came from the Bank of England, and it's been fully guaranteed by the government. So it's I mean, unfortunately, I was upbeat. I was really positive up to last week, but all this information that's coming in is making me think that maybe my positivity is not so right. But I do still want to be positive, because we're all at home. We're not spending money going out. We're not going to be able to spend money to go on holiday. We are not going to be able to suddenly jump on a Ryanair £35, because that's again going to be something that we are not going to be able to do. So I'm hoping, because we are a consumer-led economy, so I'm hoping that people will be able to spend again. But if the unemployment's, because in the high street we lost a couple of chains again, a couple of fashion chains again. So it's
Fashion industry's being hit hard, very much.
So I'm just so I'm wary of all this news coming in.
Yes.
But I still want to be positive. I still want to be upbeat, because I think if we go into negative thoughts, then we are going to go into big crisis. So I'm hoping that this chancellor so far proved himself to be a valuable asset to the economy, to the country. So I'm hoping that he will come through and provides something better to recover. But obviously, it's a global crisis. So it's globally. I mean, we're saying globally. I mean, China is already recovered about 5%. They were down 25%. You've got other countries who are doing well. So I'm hoping that we are going to be able to somehow
put it together.
And I think I want to say something about the London Borough of Enfield leadership. I think she's been exceptionally great, hasn't she?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Totally agree.
And it's just so. There's been a lot of leaders coming out of this. So I'm hoping that all these leaders will come through and guide us through this crisis.
Yes, that's it. I think what it is in the meantime, there's been lots of provision put into place to allow people to survive. Yes, the future does look scary, and there's lots of things that we need to think about. But like you said, if we have the right people on top thinking about these things as we're going along and treading a little bit more carefully, then hopefully we'll be able to soften the blow a little bit. And it is a worldwide issue. It's not just our economy, but it's economies all over the world. So in that sense, we're all in it together. So there's going to have to be people trying to put certain things into place. And like you said, yes, the taxes may go up, but then we're not spending as much being at home. So it swings and roundabouts, really. We've actually gone over our time by 10 minutes. It's been a very formative program. Thank you very much, Mahmoud Bey, Enver Bey, and Edim, as always, for coming on my program. it's been very helpful. If there is any other questions, people can ask them later on, and we'll try and answer them. But really, from what Enverbe is saying and Mohammed Bey is saying, a lot of people have been able to actually ask for this help and have been able to get the help. And systems are quite rigorous with the communication between employers and employees. So, you know, it's started to work. And you were saying, Enverbe, since last Friday, people have been able to get funds, haven't they?
Yeah, the bounce back loans. I mean, they are there to be taken. So if you unfortunately, it's only about 10 lenders who are basically authorized to give this out. Let me just read them out to you, because it's Bank of Scotland, Barclays, Clydesdale, HSBC, Lloyds Bank, NatWest, Santander, RBS, TSB. These are the banks that you can actually apply to, and you must have an account with them. If you have an account with them, it has to be online. So you go online and basically search for bounce back loans, and you can make the application. If you can't make it, then ask your accountant or ask your financial advisor or a mortgage broker to do it for you. But if you need the money, do. If you don't need the money, please don't, because then there's not that much money available.
No, definitely. Thank you, Enverbe, for that. Mohammed Bey, do you have any last words before we close the program?
Oh, yeah. So just echoing what Enver Arbi says, yes, you know, the Chancellor has put forward a lot of options available for people who are suffering in this current climate. I think the Chancellor has forgotten self-employed, though. I mean, there is an option there, but they're not going to be paid until June. So what do they do until June? They've been diverted to claim for universal credit, which is obviously
that is true. That is true.
Significant delays. There's a 5-week wait. You know, it's not right at all. And I feel they could have done much more for the country. In Enfield Council, you know, thanks to our leader, she's been excellent. You know, she has my full support and all our members' support. She's been doing absolutely wonderful job for the council. We have food parcels going all over the borough to the vulnerable people. We're delivering vulnerable people food parcels. We've got a prescription service as well in Enfield Council, so people can actually use that prescription service, and volunteers and myself will go and pick up the prescription and drop it off to them. We've got a line which has been implemented for people who are suffering from domestic abuse. So all our officers are working tremendously hard. Today, I think Enver Abi touched on something that was put out by our cabinet member for environment, which was basically streets space plan. So we're asking for people to give us ideas in relation to how we could change the format of our streets to be able to actually meet the self-isolation restrictions that we have, you know, 2-meter rules, etc. So there's a lot of stuff there. I'm constantly on the phone to a number of residents every day who are vulnerable and want someone to actually speak to them. The other day, I spoke to an 86-year-old woman. She said, yes, I got food parcel delivered. Thank you for all your support. But there was no milk, there was no Weetabix, there was no cornflakes. So I said, you know what, no problem. I'll just go and pick up some for you. I just went and I picked it up for her, you know. So I think this just showed how, as a community, we can get together and do stuff. I mean, Erin is doing a great job with the TCCA. Enver is doing a lot of work as an accountant as well to support our people as well. So getting together, we're going to be much stronger together, and we'll get out of this in no time. But people need to stay home. Just bear with it. I'm pretty sure there's not long to go, and hopefully we'll be out of this in no time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Stay home. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Just stay home.
Definitely, Enver, definitely. And Edim, few last words.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a question for Enver, coming from the charity sector. The question relates to, you mentioned 10 banks which are going to be the organisations which you approach for these loans. The charity sector uses CAF Bank, Cooperative Bank, Metro Bank. So there's banks which are not listed there. What is the situation with that sort of?
Metro banks, I've been told today, don't quote me on this, but they'll come in on Monday.
Okay.
They're digitally or something, they weren't ready, but they'll come in on Monday. Also, can I mention, last Friday, the central government gave extra money to the local authorities, discretionary funds, which up to them at their discretion to give to, basically because you didn't get the 10,000 or 25,000 because you were in the hospitality sector, but it is up to them to distribute this money to the charity sector. This is, if you look at the discretionary fund, came in last Friday. I had a chat with somebody at the London Borough of Enfield, quite a high up officer, and he said, well, we don't really know exactly what's happening. The reason I had a chat, I'm a trustee at HUK Enfield, so I wanted to find out if there was any help for us as well. So yes, but the Metro is coming in on Monday.
What about the other banks, Enver?
I'm not sure about the corporate. I haven't heard of a cooperative yet. No, but what's happening is they asked to be authorized, and these guys, I think, they had the systems ready, so they were authorized. So there may be a reason why, or I mean, they may come on because every single day there's a new one comes on. I mean, like today, Starling Bank came on today, which wasn't there before. So on a daily basis, there's a new ones coming on.
Yeah.
So watch this space. I mean, just basically, if you let me know which bank you're interested in, I can find out and come back to you.
Right. Just from my perspective as well, I'd like to praise Enfield. They were the first organisation, local authority, that opened its doors to food distribution in London. They've been, their systems operate effectively, not like other local authorities, although other local authorities are doing what they can. As soon as a person is passed over to them that's vulnerable, they're immediately within 2 to 3 days on the system and food is being distributed. They work together effectively with us as an organisation and other organisations. So full praise to the local authority in Enfield, and the administration. Yeah,
I mean, HUK Enfield has been working with London Borough of Enfield very, very closely, and it's been very, very successful organisations working together.
So a leading borough, really. So other boroughs need to take
some boroughs. I mean, Camden for me was the when it came to paying the grants out early, Camden was the first borough. They got the money on end of 27th of March, and they paid the money on 5th of April. Everybody else, you had to fill forms and jump a hood. I did about 100 applications, and some of these boroughs you didn't have to do applications. So to me, Camden was the best one when it came to paying the hospitality grants.
Right. Well, a very informative program, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being on there. If that's it, we've gone over. Thankfully, Eurogenge gave us an extra 15 minutes, which is great.
Could I just point out one thing? Sorry,
yes,
just before we leave. Yeah. So, Enver Abi pointed out that the government was going to be giving funds to local authorities. As a borough, we've only received 18 million of that. And we've actually incurred 68 million or so pounds worth of work. So obviously we don't know what's happening in relation to that. So maybe the officer that you spoke to said that because of that current issue. And then another thing that I was going to mention, which I forgot. So we've touched base on it anyway. So it's fine. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's fantastic. Of course, we always need to make sure that we make all the points. I think we need to do this again in a few weeks' time, certainly, because this has been a very informative program and lots of things have come out. And obviously, as we come out of the crisis, there will be more concerns and more questions for the economy. I think once the health crisis sort of calms down, I'm sure the economy will be at the forefront and our focus. So I think we're going to have to do this again. But certainly from Eurogenge TV as well, well done to Enfield Council, really. They've been brilliant with all the things that they've done with the services. I think they've a real leading borough with everything. So that's been great. And all the questions and answers that have been covered have been very useful to our audiences. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming on my programme. Thank you to all the viewers. Thank you for all the comments. If you'd like to make any more comments, please just leave us a line at the bottom of the program, and we'll be sharing this out all around the different platforms to help individuals in our community get more information. But that's it from us from Eurogench TV. Have a very good evening. Thank you very much. Good night.
Welcome, we are Bologna, calling newlyweds or those looking for a new bedroom set. Venti 5-door bedroom set is not only glamorous and modern, but has storage inside the bed. This bedroom set was £3,700, now £2,395. Bologna, we are here for you.